Lismore. Office workers, like birds of prey, fly in and out of cafe, clutching cups of takeaway, beverage in manicured talons. Pensioner pilgrims plan postcards on pavement pedestal tables, periodically pausing to peruse passing power walking pedestrians. Inside, the rich aroma of coffee and cooking wafts into nostrils like an exotic dancer's perfume, a symphony of sizzling and boiling punctuated by percussion of pots, pans and short order chopping, backed by a chorus of customer chatting and laughter. Couples eating croissants, converse on courtship, families feast on French toast and fries. Hippies solve world problems over vegetarian option. An old lady cuddles cup of cocoa to coax warmth to her bones. Middle-aged men are seeking truth, reading daily tabloid fiction. Students suck straws of smoothies between studied sentence. A duo of dumpy dames are daring each other to decadently devour delicious desserts. This is Lismore's last scene of normal before the coming of rain. Rain used to be a friend who tickled our senses, the soothing staccato sound of her drops on tin roof, the different pitches she created with drizzle, showers and storm, the tingling sensation we felt on our skin as she trickled away, her taste of relief, quenching our thirst on a hot summer's day, the inner sense that rain was the source of life, hid her dark side of destruction and strife. Lulled by gentle days by the river, we came to believe the rain was a giver, forgetting her incessant showers that left us wet, shivering and cold, living damp existence covered in layers of mould, forgiving rain's denial of help in a drought, the death of the garden that left us without, the garden replanted, the sun shone again, we dried ourselves, cleaned house, and waited for when rain would return as a friend. She returned as tumultuous tempest with torrential downpour, unrelenting, savage and grim. The hills flowed with water as God's aqueous daughter showed the town was not built to swim. The gentle river swelled to deliver a flood that consumed all. And as we climbed higher, up hills, roofs and spire, rain continued to fall. We screamed out curses and prayers to nature's deaf ears as the land was saturated, abandoned hopes and cares, embracing our fears as our lives were inundated. Turned off worldly affairs because all we could hear was rain pouring down unabated. A downpour of biblical proportion, only matched by our outpouring of grief as news reached us of friends who had drowned. We desperately clutched the news bulletin portion of heroic rescues with a sense of relief, greedily grabbing small gratitudes for the people who were safely found. In the still aftermath of watery apocalypse, the town is a turbulent, garbage-strewn lake. Rain is still spitting as we spit expletives, push beyond what we can possibly take. We emerged like soggy rats from a sodden, sunken ship, eyes glazed with abject horror and shock. Limped through fetid flood debris, filthy mud making us slip, unable to believe or take stock. How could our friend rain have wrought such destruction on our lives, families, friends, animals and construction? As the flood waters receded, We saw the things that we needed, food, water, shelter, were gone. Our culture lay in gutters in wet, smelly lumps, abandoned cars randomly parked up on humps, houses and caravans pushed off their stumps, small groups of survivors gathered in clumps, watching news helicopters fly around. The town a star in a disaster movie where the special effects were real. Time lapse of infrastructure claps, visually and mentally surreal. Mud sucked at our feet, mud sucked out our souls. We sucked mud in with every breath. Mud on all that we meet, mud way up power poles, mud our new metaphor for death. We piled deceased possessions in the street, a flood funeral for what we once owned. Bent and water-damaged furniture, mouldy clothes and drowned memories, ripped pictures, spoiled food and destroyed toys, games and hobbies, rusty electrical appliances, broken household commodities, crumpled plastics, smashed glass and rubble, aeroplanes wrapped around trees. The news cameras showed huge piles of rubbish, but we only saw people's piled lives. As a mud army, we worked tirelessly to help those in their hour of need, volunteers giving endlessly, motivated by love as a seed that grew into a flower of resilience, recovery through community. The flood was the conversation on everybody's lips. The flood, the overwhelming question that had minds in its grip. How did it happen? Who is to blame? What is the future now? Then rain, falling again, changed the game to a question of how. How could it be flooding again? Rain was not taking questions, just retaking control, demonstrating her strength, causing traffic congestion, destruction her goal as the river flooded along its length. The disaster, not as bad, but we were sad to have to start clean up once more. We tried to forget what we had, attempt to be glad that the clean start had opened a door to projects we had not seen before. Rain still hangs around, but we have found she is no longer our friend. When we hear the sound of her hitting the ground, there is a fear that never ends. Terror of flood, drowning in mud is the message rain's presence sends.